Okay, what if I told you that for over 600 years, pretty much all of medicine, across two huge civilizations, we're talking Islamic and European, all of it was based on one single textbook?
And that the person who compiled it was, for all intents and purposes, a teenager when he started.
It sounds like a premise for a movie, but it's completely true.
It really is. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the life and, the monumental legacy of Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Abdullah ibn Sina.
You probably know him by his Latinized name, Avicenna.
Exactly. And we've gone through a stack of sources, historical articles, biographies, analyses of his work to really pull out the key nuggets. We want to understand how one man defined medicine for, half a millennium?
Right. Our mission here is to trace how he went from this child prodigy to becoming the foundational mind of scientific medicine. And this isn't just a history lesson. His way of thinking is, in many ways, your way of thinking today.
To really get it, you have to picture the world he was born into. This is around 980 CE in what's now Uzbekistan.
So the height of the Islamic Golden Age.
The absolute height. And it wasn't a closed-off society. It was this incredible melting pot of knowledge. Scholars were translating and, challenging everything from the ancient Greeks, Aristotle, Galen, to Persian and Indian texts.
So he was standing on the shoulders of giants, but these giants were from all over the world. He inherited this massive continent-sized library of thought.
He did, but the key thing, and what he did that was so revolutionary, was that he took this mountain of information, which was often contradictory, and he organized it.
He turned it into a system, a coherent, universal system.
Systematization, that was his genius, not just collecting knowledge, but structuring it. So let's start at the beginning, because his early life, his timeline for learning is just, frankly, staggering.
Staggering is absolutely the word. It's like he was on a different clock than everyone else. So by age 10, the sources all confirmed this. He had memorized the entire Quran.
Which on its own is this massive intellectual feat, right? It shows this incredible capacity for memory.
But he didn't stop there. He immediately pivots into science and philosophy. By 14, he's already mastered physics, math, you name it. But his real passion quickly became medicine.
And this is so important. He wasn't just reading books about it. By 16, he was already out there actively treating patients near his home in Bukhara.
He was learning from application, not just theory.
Yes. He was self-taught, basically staying up all night reading and then going out the next day to prove or disprove theories with real people. That's the difference between a student and a master. And by 18, he was incredibly confident.
I found this quote from him around that time, and it just says everything. He basically said, medicine is not difficult to learn.
For anyone else, that's just pure arrogance.
Right. But for him, it turned out to be just a fact, a summary of his own experience.
And that confidence came from his method. He was already collecting evidence instead of just following tradition. But the real turning point, the thing that launched his entire career, happened when he was only 17.
This is where the story gets really dramatic. He gets summoned to the palace. The ruler of Bukhara, the king, is dying.
And all the court physicians, these older, very experienced, very respected doctors, they've all failed. They have no idea what to do.
It's high-stakes medicine. And in walks this teenager, Ibn Sina. He diagnoses the ruler, creates a treatment plan, and the king gets better.
Just like that, he goes from being a local prodigy to a court essential, a VIP.
So you'd think, okay, the king offers him gold, land, a powerful position in the government. But Ibn Sina's request was something else entirely.
When the king asked what he wanted, he asked for one thing: unlimited access to the royal library.
Think about that. Not wealth, not power, knowledge.
And this wasn't just any library, it was a private collection, a treasure trove of these rare manuscripts from Greece, Persia, India, things most scholars would never ever get to see.
And that access was the fuel. It's what turned him from just a brilliant doctor into a true revolutionary. He didn't just read the texts, he stress-tested them against his own clinical experience.
He was finding the flaws, figuring out where they needed better organization. Which brings us right to his masterpiece, Al-Qanin fi al-Tib.
The Canon of Medicine.
Exactly. He started writing it in his early 20s. And what made it so powerful wasn't that it was just another medical book. It was a complete, unified system.
And it was logical, right? Broken down almost like an encyclopedia, which made it super easy to teach from.
Immensely teachable. It was huge, 5 main volumes covering literally everything: anatomy, diagnosis, pharmacology, surgery.
You mentioned mental health even.
Even mental health, yes.
Mm.
He saw the body as this interconnected system, and his book reflected that.
Okay, so let's get into the really revolutionary stuff. Because he was working, what, 1,000 years ago, no microscopes, no labs, yet he figured out things that just sound unbelievably modern.
His ideas on contagion are just mind-blowing at a time when everyone thought sickness came from, bad air or spirits.
Asthma, right?
The asthma, yeah.
Yeah.
Ibn Sina was arguing that diseases were caused by invisible organisms that passed from person to person.
That is just a crazy leap of logic, based on pure observation of how epidemics spread.
Pure observation. And based on that idea, he advocated for quarantine. He realized that separating sick people from healthy people was the only way to stop the spread. These are public health concepts we still use.
He was also pushing for evidence.
Yeah.
We talk about clinical trials today like they're a new thing.
He was laying the groundwork. He argued for testing treatments, for observation-based medicine. That rigor is why the canon lasted so long. It was comprehensive, it was coherent, and it demanded proof.
So it became the textbook, not just in the Middle East.
Oh, no. It was translated into Latin and became the standard text in Europe for centuries, taught at universities like Oxford and Paris well into the 1600s.
6 centuries.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in. He wasn't just a good doctor. He literally changed how people saw the human body.
You could argue he was the first modern doctor. He pioneered the systemic approach. He shifted the focus from just treating a fever, a rash, to understanding the root cause within the whole system.
So instead of just putting a bandage on the problem, he was asking, why is this system failing?
Precisely. And that's where his background in philosophy and logic was so critical. He applied these rigorous logical frameworks to biology, which allowed him to start separating diseases that everyone else had just lumped together.
Can you give an example? What was he describing so clearly?
The sources talk about his shockingly accurate descriptions of things like diabetes. He was one of the first to connect the symptoms to kidney function and dehydration. He gave these incredibly detailed clinical pictures of meningitis, heart disease.
He wasn't just listing symptoms. He was identifying distinct patterns of illness.
Exactly. And that holistic view led him to another really modern idea about the connection between the mind and the body.
Right, the psychosomatic connection.
He was all over it. He understood that a patient's mental state, their stress, their emotions, had a profound impact on their physical health. He was basically practicing psychosomatic medicine a millennium ago.
And his pharmaceutical legacy is just as important. For him, it wasn't enough for a medicine to just exist. It had to be proven to work.
Yes, this is his evidence-based practice in action. He created a set of rules for testing drugs, rules that demanded consistency and proof.
What did those rules even look like back then?
They were surprisingly specific. Like, a drug had to be pure, it had to be tested on simple diseases, not complex ones, and this is the kicker, it had to work consistently on many different people.
He was looking for objective efficacy, taking the guesswork out of it.
He was, and those core principles are fundamentally still used in drug testing today.
It's just amazing. That 1,000-year-old logic is still with us. Now, you think a man who produced over 450 works, a man of such systematic thought, would have lived this quiet, stable life in a library somewhere.
But it was the complete opposite. He was a genius on the run. His life was unbelievably turbulent.
Because of the politics of the time, right?
Constant political upheaval. He'd be a court physician one year, a government minister the next, and then suddenly he'd have to flee for his life when a rival ruler took over.
Wait, so the guy writing the definitive book on medicine was also, like, hiding from assassins. How did he even find the time and focus to produce so much?
That's what's so incredible. There are accounts of him writing chapters on philosophy while riding on a camel, or composing treatises on astronomy by candlelight while he was in a prison cell.
That's an unbelievable level of focus.
His drive to create order was just stronger than the chaos around him. And that's why the canon is famous, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. He wrote on philosophy, astronomy, chemistry, psychology.
He saw it all as connected.
Completely. His work on Aristotelian logic is what gave him the framework to classify diseases so systematically. He used philosophy as the scaffolding for his science.
And that's why he was so respected, not just in one culture, but everywhere.
Absolutely. In the Islamic world, they called him Sheikh al-Rais, the leader of thinkers. Centuries later in Europe, he was the master of those who know. He even influenced giants of Western thought like Thomas Aquinas.
He was a bridge, connecting different eras and different cultures. But it all comes to this kind of poignant end. After this life of intense work and stress, he falls ill and dies in his late 50s.
It is the ultimate irony, isn't it? The greatest doctor of his age couldn't save himself. But when we wrap up this deep dive, the real takeaway isn't just the man or even his books.
It's the method, the way of thinking he left behind.
Yes. He gave us a blueprint for scientific inquiry. Observe carefully, question everything, and test your ideas before you believe them.
That is the scientific method, right?
It's the core of it. A modern hospital has MRIs and gene sequencing things he couldn't have dreamed of. But the fundamental diagnostic mindset, that demand for evidence, it all traces back to the system he built.
His method is the real legacy.
That's the enduring artifact of his genius.
So we've looked at this one person who, starting as a teenager, basically structured the world's medical knowledge for 600 years. And that leaves you with a really interesting final thought. The Canon of Medicine dominated for 6 centuries. No modern textbook, none, has lasted for more than a few decades.
That's a great point.
So it really makes you ask the question, what is it that makes a body of knowledge truly enduring? Is it the logic, the organization, and how much of how you think today is built on a foundation laid by someone like him 1,000 years ago?
It's a fantastic reminder that a real breakthrough is often about better organization, not just more data. What a joy to uncover these foundational minds.
It truly is. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll talk to you next time.